Got it.
We are live. Welcome, everybody, to the True Sky Crew podcast, where we share our cosmic pearls of wisdom. Why True Sky Astrology? Because when we align with the true sky, we align with our true self. We are your hosts, Janine, Georgia, and Sashi. Thank you guys for joining us live or on the replay. And today we're going to discuss the truth about Lionsgate and heliacal risings in general, and August transits. Welcome, everybody. How you ladies doing?
Excellent.
Good. Thank you.
It's some intense space weather out there.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Been feeling it.
I am feeling the crunch. So welcome to everybody who's jumping on the live. I'm just going to pull up the live chat really quick so we can keep up with comments. But what do we want to talk about first, ladies? There's a lot to cover today, you guys. So
there is. I was trying to pull up. Okay, here we go. So these are the topics that we're going to be covering today. I think first and foremost, we got to talk about Lionsgate. It's so close. It's coming up. It's sort of all the hype. Even if you're not into astrology, I'm sure someone in your life is saying something about Lionsgate. So I think it's a pretty important thing that's popping up in our world. So we're going to pull up the notes that we're going to talk about. For some reason, it's not showing. Well, who wants to start talking about Lionsgate as I try to figure out?
I can start, while you figure out how to get the little sheet up. I've got the cheat sheet. So I guess we need to talk a little bit about what a heliacal rising is, because the important thing to know is Sirius is not the only star that does this. It's the only one that gets any press. That's part of the issue. Like Aldebaran has a heliacal rising, which is an uber powerful royal star. Sirius is technically not a royal star, so you're kind of picking up what I'm putting down. There's some heavy hitters that also have heliacal risings that get zero info talked about it at all. So what a heliacal rising is, there's what it is astronomically, like they will show astronomically, or if you're viewing it, it's a sunrise event, and a lot of times it'll happen. You'll start seeing Sirius, in this case Sirius, because we're talking about heliacal risings, you'll see it start to rise day by day before the sun rises. So saying like a 10-day window, you're going to see Sirius more and more and more and more before the sun actually rises. So that's technically what the heliacal rising is when you can see the star at sunrise. Now, what's important energetically is when the sun, our sun, and the heliacal rising star is rising, the day it's rising in tandem on the horizon. So we're looking at the horizon at the east, and both stars are, that's why it's a quote unquote gate, right? Because both stars are rising at the same time. So you're getting this double push of sun power.
Right.
From these
so if you were
start.
to look, if you were to look at the actual sky itself in the morning as the sun is rising, you would see Sirius and the sun rising above. And for anybody who may not be aware, it is claimed on the 8/8, so August 8 is Lionsgate portal, which is claimed to be a portal based on Sirius.
Right. And I feel like the relation too is like there's some connection to Egypt, like the pyramids. And we're going to show you how that is absolutely not true in this day and age. So it's also one of that we talked in the other episode about how things are tied to a 2,000-year-old timeline. This is a similar thing. It's tied to a timeline and energy siphoning, energy hacking. They know how to hack celestial coding. So that's kind of what they're doing. So I actually have a screen share, Sashi, with a video that will show what this looks like at the pyramids.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's see. Let me figure out. It's on the media player. Okay. So what I want you guys, this is what it would look like. So I know this is cattywampus. It's the only way I can really get the photo, the image to show you where Sirius is and where the sun is. So this is the horizon. Obviously, this is below the horizon. This is above the horizon. So this is sunrise. This is east. This is our sun. And this is Sirius. Okay. This is for Giza pyramids. Note the date of this, the 23rd of July. Of July, not August. So if there's any
So it already
claim,
happened.
right, it already happened.
Uh-huh.
If there's any claim anywhere that this is something Egyptian, like I can't figure out what the heck people are talking about when they talk about Lionsgate anymore. I don't think anybody really knows unless you go look at the astronomy of it. So this is what it would look like up till 8/8, and it will start going in just a second. And as you can see, the sun is in Cancer here. I'm trying to show that.
Yeah.
This is Cancer. And then I'll start forwarding the date here, and you'll see Sirius start to rise on the horizon. So this is 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th. Here we go. And this is where it's at on the 8th. Nowhere near the tandem rising event. So that just completely debunks that.
Any aspect of it being related to these Egyptian codes.
Yeah, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been, I didn't do all the time travel-y stuff where I was like, well, when was it there? Because that's just, with heliacal risings, it's a little bit, it would be a lot of research. You'd probably need software that specifically would calculate heliacal risings. So not worth my time because it's not in the now moment.
Exactly.
So the pyramids at Giza, 30 degrees north latitude. That's important to note. So heliacal risings are like, it's kind of like the celestial algorithm, like basically one latitude degree will have the heliacal rising, and then the next one, the next day, will have the heliacal rising. So it's like this boom, 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 stacked kind of event, which is interesting. So it's like a wave of energy that comes over the planet. And I personally feel like heliacal risings are more of a planetary type energy because of the nature of the two suns. It's not like the star and our sun is aligned. It's not as personal, I feel like. So I do feel like it's more of a planetary sort of wave of energy that comes over. So
I agree with that.
that's what's going on there. So that's the 30 north latitude. The sun begins moving into Leo on 8/7. Now, where
using
I started,
like midpoint method.
Yeah, it's really in the void space.
It really is. Which I
it's
have a
right between
here
Cancer and Leo.
For like actual 8/8. Let me pull it up here. So if we look at 8/8, let's see, yeah, this is 8/8. So, oh, is it not? We have the sun that's right here. It is in between Leo and Cancer. And honestly, to me, just like visually, it looks like it's more close to this major star of Cancer than it is to this or this of Leo. So for me, 8/8 is still very Cancerian compared to Leo, even though, that's why a lot of them claim it's a Lionsgate, because it's supposedly in the middle of Leo season, whereas we see it's not really so.
It's in Cancer. It used to be.
Right.
And that's what they're tying the energy to. They're doing the ritual around the sun being in Leo, the whole right to rule thing.
Exactly.
So this got me curious. I was like, okay, 8/8 is a thing. These people know what they're doing when they start these rituals. Let's go figure out, since we know it's tied to the parallels, let's go figure out what parallel is having Lionsgate on 8/8. So got another fun little movie. So here's let me share both of these. I can toggle through them, I guess. or maybe, you know what? Let me do it this way because it'll be easier.
Which 8-8 numerically is the portal no matter what. And if you listen to episode 1, we talked about the Gregorian calendar and numerics and how it is an energy siphon through a timeline siphon. So if you haven't seen episode 1, check that out because that sort of sets the precedent of the energy siphoning that we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah. And when you figure, so it could be, this is 47 degrees, the 47th parallel, 47 degrees north latitude. So the equator is like down here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where 8-8 is a thing. Okay. Giza's like over here.
Mm-hmm.
Not anywhere near it. So
it's only this area will have Sirius and Sun
yes.
rising
so it's
at
like
the same on 8-8.
On 8-8. So like
Currently.
you can see over in the US, it's like the very top of the United States, parts of Canada, over by the Great Lakes. Like I have a friend that lives on 47 degrees and I joke with her and I'm like, you're holding the vibe, sister. I'm like, hold that 8-8 vibe for the whole planet. So that got me thinking, okay, what major cities are on 8-8? Because we know there's shenanigans in here somewhere. You guys, this is redonkulous. Let's share that. And let me see, how do I scroll over to the next one?
Oh, are you sharing something?
Is it not sharing?
Okay. No, sorry. Let me, because I put the transits up. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Somewhere, I don't know how this is supposed to scroll through here. Maybe this is covering up a thing. No, there's another one. What? I tell you what, let me go see if I can find it. Because this is the important one. I thought it would be. That's not it. Dang it. Tried to have all this stuff sorted out.
So a little bit of background about, are you pulling stuff up about Cern, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the video. It was
Okay.
pulled up. I just don't know how to scroll through these things.
So while Janine's getting that video, for anyone who needs a little background about Cern, they are a scientific company. I don't believe they're government sponsored, are they? Potentially, but they have the Hydrogen Collider, correct?
Okay. It's the Large Hadron Collider. Yeah. Okay.
So basically, they smash subatomic particles together and create black holes.
Basically.
And by doing so, they are creating portals. So it's basically a portal.
All right.
Site, portal place, I guess, a company that creates portals.
Basically.
They say that they want to study the fundamental building blocks of life and so on. But that's the kind of stuff that they do. And
okay.
Even though I don't think it belongs to any one government, I know that different governmental bodies have funded some projects, I'm assuming.
I do not know why this keeps playing this one.
Well, it's probably Cern manipulating the timeline.
It's not, it's technical difficulties. Hang on, I'll stop the share. There's got to be a way you can like swipe through the video to go to the next one, and I just don't know why it won't do it.
I think just exit.
I did.
Exit one video and then open the other one?
That's what I just did, and it keeps pulling up the other one.
I mean, it makes sense that we'd be having interference at this particular moment in the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly basically what Cern does. They do timeline manipulations. And so it doesn't really take any sort of intuitive power to know that Cern position their location at the latitude where 8-8 still is a oh, we got it.
Got it. Yeah, it's just operator error. I'm sorting so many things out on this device right now. Okay, so this is 46.2. So the heliacal rising of Sirius on 8-8 is between 46, 47 degrees. So as you can see, here's Cern. Here's the large, you can literally see the Large Hadron Collider over there. And this is going to go we're going to show you the heliacal rising on that day and what a tandem rising looks like. So it's like 100%, this is what it is, where it's at. So you see both stars are parallel on the horizon, and here they go. So this is what 8-8 looks like at Cern. So tell me that's not a ritual. So basically, the thing is, the further up in the parallels you go, the later the date is. The further below the equator or towards the equator, the earlier it is. There are some dates, I didn't look up all of them, I looked up a bunch of them. But there is dates in June and earlier than that. So it's just like a wave of energy that starts. I didn't look at like, you know, the Arctic Circle or anything. I don't know exactly what the exact date is that the wave starts down at the bottom. But that's what it looks like. So
yeah, but the point is that it's different for everyone based on where you live. So this Lion's Gate energy, which is supposedly the sun and Sirius rising at the same time on the horizon that you can visibly see with your own eyes. And that energy of Lion's Gate, if we still even want to call it that, I guess
we
probably
don't.
Sirius Gate probably
It's Wolf's
would
Gate.
make the most sense. So what is wolf, as in because Sirius is a dog?
Because Canis Major.
Gotcha.
He's a wolf.
It's called the dog star, and it's also called the celestial wolf in Chinese astrology.
Okay. Yeah. That's so much better.
I start calling it that.
There.
Yeah, I started calling it that last year, and I'm like, we will make this catch on. Because that whole siphoning the Leo, that soul energy, the sun energy, like that, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're not playing that game, because that's not what's happening. Yes. So this was the most interesting date for the whole, this one. I mean, the shenanigans at 47 degrees parallel is one thing, but this one is a really cool day. So at the 5th parallel north, so 5 degrees north latitude, this is where it bisects the planet. On July 6th, which is the same day as the Sun Sirius heliacal, or not heliacal, the Sun Sirius alignment is also the heliacal rising day for the 5th parallel north.
Wow.
So they get like just a gigantic push of energy. So if you want to go do light work, people, go to the 5th parallel somewhere, go to South America, go to Africa, go to like these awesome islands over here above Australia, and go do your work. If that is your job as a soul, this is where you can make a major impact for this. So I just thought that was super fun, because that is a power place on the planet for that. But that's just for the heliacal rising of Sirius. Heliacal risings happen all the time. All the time. Sirius is the only one that gets talked about. So it would be, what would be cool to look at is like, look at your birth chart, see what star is on your ascendant, see if that star has a heliacal rising, do work in tandem with that.
That would be great to work on your ascension
personal
journey.
It's a personal
absolutely
thing.
Yeah, that is definitely a personal placement. And you know, the bigger issue about this Lion's Gate business is because since Leo rules our sovereignty, it rules the solar self, one's willpower, one's ego, how you are defined as an individual. The energy that's being hijacked from this constellation is through this alignment and portal. And so there's no denying, even though every sun and Sirius rising together, that depends on where you live, but there is still a portal on 8-8, and again, that is a Gregorian time portal, which you can still use. There's really not much with Leo or Lions to work with, but it is, the times that I've worked with it, it is an infinite portal, so you can timeline to any timeline of your choosing on that day, but you really need to know what you're doing. If you don't know how to timeline jump, it's not really recommended to be working with that portal, but if you know what to do, it's a really great time to work on timeline jumping. And as I talked about in episode 1, when I used the 8-8 portal to timeline jump with my partner, that was when I had my true sky awakening. So that's when the sky revealed itself, basically, and I understood that the tropical astrology and the tropical algorithm was a complete farce used to, where basically, you know, people are worshiping a fake solar system. They're pretending like planets are places that they're not. So that's an even more energetic siphon, which goes to the Catholic Church on a baseline because of the Gregorian calendar. So,
and siphoned out of portals that, you know, with the Hadron Collider being, the logo is a freaking 666, y'all. Like,
yeah,
where are they portaling all that energy to?
Mm-hmm.
Into their black hole
Jumping
technologies, which is
to
what
their timelines. They're funneling it to their timelines. So
Yes.
stop that shit.
Atlantean
Yeah.
timeline.
Yes,
We're gonna get the
yeah.
mermaid swear jar out, but stop it.
I would actually, for, you know, unless you are highly versed in such things, not to even participate in the 8-8 day at all, because their technologies are quite advanced and most people are just blatantly and blindly giving their energy to this thing and they don't even know what they're giving their energy to.
Yeah.
You know, go for a walk in the woods, go take a bath, go make a good meal, do something else.
Yeah, go do something Cancer, Leo, cuspy, you know.
Get in a hot tub.
Go get in the hot tub. That's
In a hot
perfect.
tub.
Go sit in the hot tub. Go to the
Tuck
hot
yourself
springs.
in the hot tub. Yeah. Some heat,
Yeah.
some water.
Have a nice cookout or something, you know, like fire, food. Do something fun that you enjoy. Don't worry about rituals. It's too much bullshit, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Tune into your feminine and your masculine, like what's going on. This is in that void cuspy place between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So just like have a check-in with you. Has nothing to do with any of this hocus pocus.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think what's interesting too over the years, maybe this is a beyond our lifetime thing, but as that, you know, with precession involved, with the sun slowly over the years moving more and more into Cancer for this alignment, like the heliacal rising of Sirius is while the sun is in Cancer now. For most of the planet, they're trying to hook into that last little bit that's still in Leo, but I bet you money their ritual sites go further and further north until they just run out of Leo fuel. And by that time, it's like the mother archetype will be totally reestablished and they'll just be out of gas. So they're just, they're just
a turtle takeover.
Turtle takeover.
They're just clinging on to the last little bit of Leo juju that they can exert for that right to rule power. So
exactly.
Stop feeding the lion.
Exactly. The system is falling. We see it. They're grabbing onto their last little semblances of whatever they think, which Leo is also the sign of royalty, of rulership, of rightful hierarchy. And so we see that is falling because more and more people are activating the royal DNA and understanding their right to lead for themselves, rule over themselves. And we will continue to see this happen. And I also recommend anyone who's unfamiliar with Cern, when Cern got the spotlight put on them a while ago, how people were talking about the rituals that they were doing and their logo and all the quote unquote conspiracy theory things. They actually did a ritual out in public on their grounds towards a statue. I don't remember what entity the statue was, but they did a ritual. They had all of these different things. They were in cloaks, and then they told the world, "Oh, we were just kidding." There's no such thing as doing a ritual and just kidding. If you're doing the ritual, you're doing the ritual. So anyone who's interested in looking deeper into it, I recommend, you know, looking for yourself, making the conclusions for yourself, looking at the videos, the data on your own, and just don't go too far into the rabbit hole, of course.
Don't go down that rabbit hole too far. There's a lot of weird stuff in that.
We should find that video and like link it
in the description of this for people who are like, I want to see what the F you're talking about, because it is weird.
Yeah, it is.
It was a bunch of years ago, right? It wasn't recent.
No, it was recent. It was, I want to say between like either last year or 2 or 3 years ago. It was very recent when they did it.
Okay, so that's my idea of a long time ago.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a few years ago. Okay.
And I believe it was around 8/8.
Yeah.
So we'll have to check on that for sure, but yeah, highly recommend.
Oh, we'll find it. It's on YouTube somewhere. I've seen it. We'll link it. So if you guys, the thing that's important as we're summing up this heliacal rising of Sirius, like stop calling it Lionsgate, call it the heliacal rising of Sirius, call it Wolfsgate, call it whatever, but it has nothing to do with lions really anymore.
Except they be lying. They be lying all over.
Except they be lying.
Yeah. Like the lies. That's what should jump out about Lionsgate. It is. We should just call it lying.
No, we should just call it the heliacal rising of Sirius. I mean, it is a valid astronomical event. It is a thing that happens, but it's also, there's lots of other heliacal risings. So I think the main thing is get a sky app, pin your location, figure out what latitude you're at, right? And then go to, like, you kind of have to toggle around a little bit on a sky app. Pick a day, like I'm at 37 degrees north latitude, and for me it's on the 30th. It depends on the year. It's usually 30th, 31st of July.
Me too.
So figure out the date with the parallel, and then look at the east on your app at sunrise. You got to put the time in as sunrise, and then just toggle back and forth. You'll have to back up the days a few days. You'll have to adjust the timing with sunrise. But what you're looking for is that the horizon line bisects the sun in half and also bisects the heliacal rising star, whatever it is that you're looking at. So both stars are bisected by the horizon, and they both rise in tandem. And you can knock yourself out with looking all those up that you're fascinated with, because there's a lot. Any star that's a rise and set star will have a heliacal rising. So that's a lot.
And it just occurred to me too, like, why is Sirius such a big deal, and why do we talk about it, and why is it connected and stuck onto Leo? And especially as it moves back into Cancer, Sirius is such a feminine star, and so much about the divine feminine. So we can see that also as it's moving back into Cancer, that this is a rising of the divine feminine. So of course it's the thing that wants to be bypassed by the powers that be, and to keep snatching onto that Leo energy. But really it is the return of the divine mother, which is why it has any attention on it.
That is exactly
more so than the other stars.
Yep. Yeah, they don't want to empower the feminine, because they know once the feminine has come back to conscious awareness and recollected all its parts, it's game over.
That's for sure.
Exactly.
They got no more game. And it's not anything that they can prevent. They're only delaying it. That's the thing with the rituals. It's siphoning the power to delay the rise of the feminine. Not going to happen.
They're trying to get every last bit of juju, of quanta before their time is done. And so the best that we cannot feed it, the better.
Exactly.
Let them die.
Yeah.
And the best
for people who are legitimate grid workers and light workers, and they know they're working on closing certain portals, realigning stargates, work with the true sky. Seriously.
Yeah.
It will help you.
Yeah. People who are doing deep work like this, I've noticed that as well. And one of the best ways that you can recall your sovereignty, stop giving energy to these siphons, timeline and energy siphons, which are kind of synonymous in a way, at least with what we're talking about, is to tune into the true sky. Because when you start using the organic celestial bodies that you can just look up and connect to them yourself, you are taking away power from the pretend timekeeping mechanism and pretend solar system that the tropical algorithm and Gregorian calendar are using.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So if y'all have any questions about heliacal risings, or, you know, maybe we could do like a mini training how to figure out how to use the Sky app to do this. I mean, that could be an IG live thing.
Yeah.
So anybody that, is curious about that, comment in the live chat, and we'll consider doing that if there's enough people that want to do that. I think it would be good in general,
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. And stay tuned to our Instagram as well, because that's probably where we'll be posting the information, but we will try to publish it probably as a short on YouTube as well.
Yeah, that
like an announcement.
I think that would be fun.
Okay, shall we?
So does that feel
Cancer?
complete? I feel like
I
that's
think so.
I think so too.
enough on that. Not feed the lion anymore. Okay, so what's next? Sun and Cancer.
We're just gonna go Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter,
Go through the
Saturn, Uranus
transits.
retrograde. I think Chiron's in there somewhere too. So
I know Sashi has some good info for us on the Venus retrograde, so we'll probably talk about that. We'll talk about the nodes at Andromeda Galaxy too, because I think I have a correction I need to make there from my Instagram posts. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. So Sun and Cancer. Until August, until August 6th or 7th. Like really, that's when the sun moves into the void space. So it's in the void space for a few days and then officially moves into Leo. So on the 7th, it's kind of floating around in the void space. And sun will stay in Cancer for the rest of the month. So that's what, Leo will stay in Leo for the rest of the month.
Right. Well, what can we say about the sign of Cancer? We know from our last episode that, first of all, we're renaming this beautiful sign of the Divine Mother, because every time I say Cancer, I feel like I'm invoking a disease. And, this is also how we siphon the Divine Mother, and we're not going to do that anymore. So that's kind of the first thing that's up for Cancer, as well as we've talked about the recode of her symbol. Kind of that we can see her as turtle, we can see her as crab, lobster, beetle, and now we've added pearl, which I think is a lovely addition.
I was actually doing some research on the etymology of terms, and I was like, mother, I was looking at mother archetype, mother and father, because sun is kind of synonymous with father energy. And well, I don't want to say moon because I don't attribute Cancer energy to moon. That's like the hijacked Cancer energy, but the solar feminine as mother, the true feminine archetype. And I was just looking at mother, father, and I was like, well, it's creatrix or creatress, like a matrix or matrices. I was like, that's kind of more of the archetype is creatrix, and then the sun energy creator. So you have the gender principle in there. But I was like, I think we might be onto something with it as far as renaming the archetype.
Totally. And I was feeling into this too, with talking about the sun being the ruler of Cancer, and how it's really like Leo is like the aspect of the sun that gives the energy, and then Cancer feels like that earthy aspect that receives the sunlight and makes it grow and prosper and become something alive. And then I was thinking about how the sun is connected to the heart, and how Leo feels like the electric masculine aspect of heart, and Cancer feels like the magnetic feminine aspect of heart. And so in that way we can exactly, so the masculine fire soul, the feminine water soul, and how that comes together in this beautiful divine union between these two signs.
I love that.
Yes.
I've been thinking a lot about when you had mentioned that Cancer is ruled by the sun, because really Cancer's light is a reflection of the sun anyway. So I've been really stewing on that. I'm like, you know what? That really makes a lot of sense. Of course, we can't discount the moon, but it's like you can't really talk about the moon without talking about the sun.
You can't discount the moon, and we're not mad at the moon. And the moon has her place as well in the cosmology of everything. But in Persian astrology, they said that the reason that the moon has an affinity for the sign of Cancer is because Cancer is the sun at night, and that it's still ruled by the sun even though it's night.
Yeah,
Which also makes a lot of
Mhm.
too.
yeah, the moon has a function. Like it does have a function. Like you said, we're not mad
Mhm.
at the moon. When you understand what it's doing as a counterweight, a counterbalance, an accelerator, like helping to
Mhm.
process souls through Earth matrix, you're like, oh, okay. It has a really important purpose. But it's also like this cosmic egg. I feel like that's another good archetype for Cancer
Mhm.
is like cosmic egg,
The egg.
literally the egg, because the solar aspect, the solar feminine aspect is in there protected, right? So that's the alchemical journey, is to break out of the cosmic egg, to reintegrate the mother component. And that's kind of what the moon is doing. It acts like an energetic eggshell.
We're breaking
Mhm.
out of.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's
So
to be
then-
worked with, not venerated. That's important to say. The moon
Yes.
is to be
Yeah.
worked with. It's emotional body things. It is not to be venerated. It's not about moon worshiping, because that's you like, I'm happy in my egg. I never want to leave. Right.
I say not glorified nor demonized.
Exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. It's just a thing that's doing a thing. Right.
So then we see
Learn to
that
work with
on-
it.
Yeah, exactly. On July 30th, the sun will be at the Beehive Nebula, which is the heart of Cancer. That's Pushya Nakshatra. And it has so many interesting kind of ties in with so many things. But, so the Beehive Nebula and Pushya is also the flower or the cow udder. It's also called the manger. And it's called it's the nourishing star. It's the most nourishing aspect of the sky. And so when you really tune into it, I'm like, oh, it's milk and honey. Of course, it's the most
Mhm.
nourishing, and like the milk and the honey of the Divine Mother.
Yeah, that's an amazing fixed star alignment when it's like there's this whole rebirthing that's available.
Mm-hmm.
And this is funny because July 30th, as y'all know, for 37 degrees north latitude is heliacal rising of Sirius.
Mhm.
There's
That's
a
a
lot
really
of
big one.
rebirthing going on 30th. And that's not far away, 3 days from now.
Yeah.
So,
That's super juicy.
on another level with the Beehive Nebula, when you think of the geometric shape of the hexagon, that shape has been used as a means of manipulating sound fields. So one of the things I was really feeling about this particular alignment of sun moving through this space is that to connect with your soul song, to really like start to feel the song that resides inside of you as a way to reclaim mother's sound fields within. And I feel like just, even if you don't know how, just hum, just play, just be a little kid about it, and something beautiful will come through. That's kind of just for you. That will help you anchor into more alignment with the mother.
Yeah, that's a beautiful transit.
Mhm.
I think we can scratch this North Node at Andromeda Galaxy alignment, because I think there was some miscalculation there on my part. That's actually in
That's
August.
okay. We could just,
Yeah, I just
Touch
didn't
on
delete
it.
it off here before I sent it to you guys.
no worries. I
So,
just won't scroll all the way down.
I think I don't know which version you down.
The PDF.
Yeah, I updated it, so I don't know. It depends on when you downloaded it as to
Ah.
if I changed the thing at the bottom at the nodes. So we'll figure it out when we
Okay.
get there, but we can talk about that later. So ignore North Node at Andromeda Galaxy on the 30th because it's actually August 11th.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Mhm.
But still significant for the heliacal rising of Sirius at 37 north latitude.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I keep going on about that is because that's me and it blows my mind. I'm at 37, like, I better put on a seatbelt in a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Energetically. So the other fixed star alignments that the sun will be making is with Alphard in Hydra constellation and also Regulus. Those are kind of only about a degree or two apart as alignments go. So Regulus and Leo, August 22nd. They'll be the sun will be aligning with those two guys, or sandwiched in between them, really. And Venus, and when Venus retrogrades back into Cancer. Oh, sorry. Man, I need to make better notes. August 22nd.
No worries.
Venus is retrograding back into Cancer the same day the sun is aligned with Alphard and Regulus. So there's a lot going on that day. It was just hard to write it all down and make sense. So that's a busy day.
We'll take a peek once we get to Venus. I have a little video that will show the sun and Venus on that day. So we'll be able to see what it looks like.
Yeah, and then sun will be aligned with Thuban August 31st, so at the very end of the month, which is also very close to a full moon.
Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah, there's definitely a lot going on. Yeah, it is, and it's conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, which I have some. Do we want to move to the moons now?
Let's talk about the planetary conjunction with Sun. Sun will be, and you'll probably talk about it more too. Sun will be conjunct Venus retrograde in Leo at Merak, fixed star Merak in Ursa Major. So that's some big bear energy there. Reworking our connections to that protector type energy through the soul. So that's a big deal. So yes, there is a lot of things going on with the sun this month. Not so much with some of the other planets. It's like Sun, Venus, Mars have a lot of wild stuff going on. So I think we're good and we can move on unless somebody else has something.
Nope.
Okay. Moon. We have a blue moon this month, you guys.
Yes, we do. Once in a blue moon.
Once in a blue moon.
Often than you think.
It's happening this month. So those happen about every 33 months or approximately every 2.5 years. We get an extra full moon within a month. It just so happens to be August. So we have a full moon on August 1st. Oops.
Let me pull up. I'm just going to pull up some visuals for everybody.
That's cool.
So here we are, August 1st.
We have a full moon in Capricorn, August 1st, and about 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So here we go. We can see clearly that the moon is within the constellation Capricornus. Loose conjunction with Pluto. Pluto's technically still in Sagittarius. I think with, IAU boundary. I'm not sure about midpoint method because that's a little.
It's technically,
these
that's
are the
a
stars.
little bit.
The picture is not the star. So as it fades away, you can see the constellations over here. But full moon there, and then we have. Oh, do we want to talk a little bit about this full moon?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean,
I
didn't pull charts for it or anything. I figured we could just talk about it generally because the most interesting full moon will actually be the blue moon on the 30th. There's more aspects going on. Like for the full moon on the 1st, the moon's not conjunct anything. It's not aligned directly with any fixed star. So that's just a full-blown full moon in Capricorn, getting into that, get into your discipline, your routines, get grounded, do some work with Saturn,
career, social structure, social climbing, even whatever your mountain of success is.
With Saturn being retrograde too, it's a good time to really check in with, are the social groups that you're a part of actually working for you? Are you getting what you need out of it? Are you feeling like what you're doing is really of service to humanity? And how can you make some tweaks, especially at that alignment with the moon on Saturn?
Practical, make practical steps. Really,
and same with your
take
career.
A review moment. Review.
If your career and work is not aligned, that full moon in Capricorn is bound to bring up some sludge. Because with Saturn retrograding, if your long-term plan isn't for your greatest good, that's when Saturn can get really distorted. And that's when a lot of distorted Saturn energy can anchor in your life.
And with Saturn in Aquarius, it has to be for your greatest good and the greatest good of humanity as well. So definitely. It really has that a combination of the service to self and service to others.
And that'll be the one on the 30th. It'll be full moon will be in Aquarius. So it's like we're revising the personal plans, your personal stuff with the full moon in Capricorn on the 1st, and then the 30th, the full moon in Aquarius. It's definitely it has some
pull
more
that up.
things going on with it. Like it's a 4-degree orb to royal star Fomalhaut, which is like the empowered planetary guardian is activated and aware. And it's literally like, if what you're doing is not in alignment with the greatest good of, you know, humanity, like it will definitely bring that sludge up.
Exactly. Yeah. So here's the full moon happening in Aquarius so that everybody can see, conjunct Saturn. So it's a very Capricorny full moon, even though it is within Aquarius here. And yeah, Aquarius is a humanitarian and it also rules over class consciousness. So, you know, Pisces is the collective consciousness, whereas Aquarius is the stratification based on class. And in our time, I'm sure everyone would agree, we have some issues with class consciousness. So this is going to be, a lot of Aquarius transits are going to be very big when it comes to social stratification, and especially the Saturnian influence on it right now with Saturn in Aquarius. There's a lot of big business, big government that is within this Aquarius stuff.
Yeah, some crumbling of the systems, and that will be a direct connection to how many people like reroute their thought processes about what they're doing. It'll just be like people will be changing timelines, and that will allow a collective shift. So
and it's going to be a shift with the Saturn moon matrix too, being that Saturn and moon are seeing
together.
You know,
that is a good
big
point.
Timeline shift.
Yes, recode that Saturn moon matrix, people. That's the way to do it. It's
and reclaim Saturn. You know, Saturn is actually a divine feminine being, and so there's a way that in this as well that we're actually like reclaiming her.
Yeah, learn to work with Saturn, because like Georgia was saying, there is a Saturn moon matrix, and when you understand what that's really all about, you're just like, okay, Saturn, let's get stuck in and do the work. What do I need to do? Right? Like have a meditation with planetary archetype Saturn.
Exactly.
Ask for her to show you what would be more in alignment. Where can you make changes? Where are you ready to make changes to your life path, to your career, to your things that you do that are also part of your purpose? I really look at like 10th house type things, like Capricorn type things. Like I zoom way out and I'm like, this is your purpose. It goes beyond your career. It can trickle down to be also your career. But you know, use the opportunity to zoom way, way, way out. Just be like, why am I here? How can I make adjustments to embody that more, to do that more on the planet now? Right. So
what do I need to face and look at that is maybe something a little uncomfortable for me to look at so that I can rise up to this?
Yep. And Saturn will answer you very directly. If there's one thing about Saturn, very structure oriented, very stepwise process, and discipline is absolutely needed.
Yeah.
In order to work with
responsibility is a key word with Saturn. Like that was the word that echoed when I started working on my Saturn stuff. It was like responsibility and duty. I was like, okay, let's do it.
Accountability.
Accountability. Oh yeah. Accountability. And just get in there and start taking steps towards it. Like Saturn will not pull her punches. She'll be like, if you are listening, she'll give you the step-by-step approach. If you're not, you'll get a bitch slap.
Yes, you will.
You will.
Saturn's known for the spankings. For sure.
It just depends on where it is as to how you're doing.
Exactly.
But, you know, and then in speaking of all that too, like it's also a good time to kind of reconcile between these two full moons, the places in yourself that feel like they deserve to be punished. That maybe like glorified this liking of the spankings, you know? So we all got really real with ourselves.
Yeah. Oh yeah, addiction matrix. Addiction matrix. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are you addicted to the punishment? Yes. Are you addicted to the karma? Yeah. Whew.
Yeah.
Good golly.
To the cycle of not feeling good.
Yeah. Which,
and that, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to go to the new moon. That's kind of
that's exactly what I was going to say. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was going to say, let's move to this new moon because it's conjunct Black Moon Lilith, correct?
Yes, but it's in Leo. So
Yes,
it's
let's
literally
pull that
like
up.
you're diving into that sort of really
Your
repressed
light. Yeah.
type things to go do soul recovery, basically. Go get your light, but you're going through some stuff. Black Moon Lilith is
Yes.
not known for holding on to high vibe things. Like,
Yes.
it can be dense.
Black Moon Lilith is a data point that can also point to addictions and being addicted to pain. A lot of pain programs exist Black Moon Lilith, and a lot of it has to do with things that you think are pleasurable, like things that are so painful you have to make them pleasurable in order to survive, and vice versa. When something is so pleasurable that it becomes painful. So for example, you love ice cream, that's fine, but if you eat ice cream all day every day, you get sick. That is a pleasure turning into pain. Whereas something that might be something super traumatic that happens to you that you have to sort of fetishize in a way to make it pleasurable. So there's definitely a lot to come up, and especially with Saturn, a lot of those distortions can come to the surface. And when the sun's in Leo, it really doesn't get much brighter than that. So as we're going through true Leo season, we are going to see a lot of things come to light, even in a void moon.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, Venus retrograde was conjunct Black Moon Lilith. So there's a similar theme, doing the Venus archetype work, doing this sun, this new moon work. Like, the new moon sets the tone for the 28-day lunar cycle. So it's like, the new moon is the portal through the lunar matrix into your soul, basically, because they're aligned. They're sitting on top of each other from our point of view. So it sets the tone for the work for the whole lunar cycle. So it does parallel a lot what's going on with Venus too. So y'all, it's just going to be a deep dive into like whatever Black Moon Lilith is holding for you.
Exactly. And we see here, even on this new moon day where we have the new moon in Leo, we have Venus right here, which is retrograding basically within Hydra. It's not touching a star in Hydra, but it's not touching a star in Cancer either. So it's like right in that pocket between Hydra and Cancer. So there's going to be a lot of Ashlesha energy, which is like the serpent from the depths. So a lot of Kundalini activations are bound to happen around this time. Big energies.
Recovering
DNA
primordial
upgrades.
Shakti. Yeah, like the
royal DNA activations.
Yeah, a lot
of that primordial Shakti, right?
Yeah.
Just like taking our power back, our sexual power, our feminine power, our solar power.
Yeah, I kind of look at Hydra placements as undifferentiated, like feminine, and it's like going to the void. It's the place of all possibility. That's when I say primordial Shakti, that's kind of what I mean. It's like all bets are off. If you manage to tap into that, it's like you are in the creation fields. So, but you got to go through Black Moon Lilith and some other things to get there through these transits. Like, you got lunar work to do, you got Venus retrograde work to do. So,
and I feel like Black Moon Lilith is also like reclaiming that part of the feminine that was like, I'm not going to like go for this bullshit plan. I'm gonna like stay true to myself. So there's really also a power in Black Moon Lilith. It's not to be feared.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably the easiest dark feminine archetype to work with. It does help you step back into your power if you don't let it take you over.
Yeah. And Lilith is still a mother figure. She loves her children. She loves working with children, and she's pretty great as a dark feminine, I would say, because she never really did anything wrong. It was the pain that was brought to her by the creator at that time, Yahweh. So for anyone who doesn't know, Lilith was the first woman created. She was created at the same time as Adam, from the same dust. She refused to submit to Adam. She left the garden. That's when Eve was made, and Yahweh basically hunted her down and murdered her children in front of her. And that's where the distorted energy comes from. There was so much pain that she had to process. And she was, through the patriarchal lens of the big three, I guess, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, she was labeled the mother of demons because she was able to create children without the masculine archetype. So she was able to have children without laying under Adam, as they say. And those were the children that were slain by Yahweh. So just a little background.
Yahweh was not God, just FYI.
No way. Absolutely not. If you still worship that psychopath, like, I feel bad for you. It's really not meant to be worthy of
the
worship.
term lullaby is literally means to banish Lilith. So when we sing our children lullabies, we're singing them banishments of Lilith. So we don't use that term at my house, actually.
It's wild. Definitely a distorted thing that can happen where people think that Lilith likes to like steal or hurt or kill children because that happened to her, but it's really not that case. Even though I have seen some negative black moon Lilith transits cause miscarriages and such, but
it can affect that way. So what it is astronomically, isn't it like perigee, moon and earth, and the perigee from moon to earth? So it's the longer, like white moon Selena is the other side. It's apogee, which is just the distance that the moon is, because it's an elliptical orbit. They're not the same. So white moon Selena is the shorter side of the distance from earth to moon, and black moon Lilith is the longer side. And for me, like, I just translated it as kind of like the long way out of the lunar matrix. So that's why I look at it in charts, because it tells me where you're working on some really dank repressed stuff, like curses, bloodline stuff, hybridization, like it can go into stuff that the body just shoves way below the feet or way out in the energy field, where it's like so threatening to the body that it's just like, keep it out there, because the human doesn't even understand this is a thing. So when you're ready to work through some of that stuff, it can be a little bit of a shock when it comes up. And that's why it's out there. Because it was too much to deal with. Yeah.
Totally.
So tread lightly and stay grounded, because there's a lot of that stuff that wants to come up in the next month or so.
Small, manageable bites so that you can stay with the process.
I think that's why the moons are like, Capricorn, Aquarius. It's like slow and steady wins the race, y'all. Little bites, little steps. Have a plan. Make your progress in small increments, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
That feel good with the moon stuff? Should we go on to?
I think so.
We're gonna have to start going. Well, once we get past like Mars, it'll go faster. But
yeah,
we got a lot to cover. So Mercury's gonna be in Leo all month. There's no super significant planetary conjunctions, but he does have some fixed star alignments that are significant. He'll be crossing or aligning with Thuban and Draco. I always look at this star because Thuban is kind of like shenanigans hangout spot for the bad guy hangout spot. There's energy associated with Thuban that's very low vibe reptilian, hijack dragon lineages, stuff like that. So Mercury, like, that's a day where those things could potentially, there could be mental connections, mental body things where you might have some strange things come in. And if you do, you just address it and send it packing. But that's August 3rd. He will station retrograde at the end of the month. There's that hot day, August 22nd. Mercury will station retrograde at Denebola in Leo, which is in Leo's tail. So it's towards the end of Leo. Mercury almost catches up with Mars, but starts to slow down and then retrograde before they make an actual conjunction. So he doesn't actually conjunct Mars in August. He gets probably within like 4 or 5 degrees, but doesn't quite touch. So there might be a push of like Mercury Mars type thing, and then he backs off. So he'll station retrograde on the 22nd and go full retrograde on the 24th. So that's all Leo, Mercury Leo.
Yep.
Who wants to do Venus? Sasha, you want to do Venus, don't you?
Sure. Yeah. So we have Venus. Let me pull up a little video that I have. Let's see here. All right, so this Venus retrograde basically highlights the star of Regulus the most. So a lot of alignments that are going on in regards to this transit sort of highlight this star specifically. So let's play this video. So, oh, I didn't realize. How do I turn the sound off of this? Okay, there we go. So just like any other retrograde, there is a shadow period before the retrograde begins. So this shadow period started back in June. So as we see, this is when the shadow period started. So Venus is moving forward during the shadow period. And just as Mars passes Regulus, which we saw there, Venus is going to continue. And then Venus stationed retrograde on July 22nd. So we just had Venus station retrograde. We're in day 6. So as you see, Venus is aligned with Regulus, and Venus just sort of chills there for a little bit. We see the moon go by, and Venus starts visibly moving backwards. But this is where we are today, or on the 27th, 28th. So we see that Mercury is at Regulus, which Regulus is very important. It's a royal fixed star and one of the 4. And so Venus, Mercury, and Regulus are all being activated here as Venus is retrograding. So then we continue. Venus starts visibly moving backwards in the sky, and we see that it moves right in between the Hydra constellation and the Beehive constellation. It does not go inside or touch a major star, but it's still within that space. And then on September 3rd, it will station direct again. And then it has its post-shadow period. So Venus is going to continue after it stations direct again. It's going to move through Acubens, and it moves back, and the post-retrograde shadow ends on October 6th. And where is it? It is once again stationed with Regulus, like right there in conjunct, I would say. So basically this entire transit is Venus meeting Regulus right out with Mars. Then Mercury meets up there, moves back into Hydra and Cancer, and then finishes that retrograde cycle, including the post-shadow, at Regulus. So huge shifts when it comes to love and relationships, which Venus is the planet of love, yes, of like romantic relationships and things like that, but it's everything that you love, people, places, things, everything. So when you're working with Venus, you want to be surrounded by things that you love. Working with Venus helps you shift into the vibration of love. Love is not, something that you only have with one romantic partner or something like that. This is more of a vibration of loving your life, loving everything that you do. So a lot of royal DNA is going to be activated with people who are really doing their work and people who are working with Venus specifically. So a lot's going to come to the forefront in terms of romantic partnerships, intimate partnerships, platonic as well. And if you don't love what you do, if you don't love what you're surrounded by, if you don't love what you hear, see, touch, all of that, it is going to be very abrasive. And those are things that you want to notice. And so, gift yourself some patience and grace as you may realize the things that you used to love in the past, you no longer love. This can be taste in music, maybe your palette changes, things like that. But because Venus is happening in Leo, or Venus is retrograding in Leo, Hydra, Cancer, with the Leo energy, people are going to be the biggest thing that you're going to notice, because Leo is the pride of lions that you surround yourself with. This can be blood relatives and also those who you consider family, like that one uncle that's not really an uncle, that kind of thing. It's the people who you grow up with around, the people that you hunt with, cuddle with, nuzzle with. It's the very close kind of family unit in a way, some of which can be chosen. Whereas when Venus is retrograding more in Hydra and Cancer, it's going to be more focused on one's own emotional body. The relationship with the mother and mother figure can definitely be highlighted there, but a lot of them are going to be personal emotional programs and emotional codes. And with Venus retrograding in Hydra, there is obviously going to be a lot of power dynamics going on. Same with Leo. But with Venus retrograding in Hydra, I was really getting this energy of, if you are approaching something to do with love, whether it's, person, place, or thing that you love, and if the way that you're approaching an issue is getting worse instead of getting better, it's kind of like the mythological Hydra. If you cut it off at the head and two more spout out, you're not getting to the actual issue of it. You need to get to the root of the issue. And Cancer is all about that emotional root. So Venus retrograde is a big time to assess how you are accessing the vibration of love in your life, through yourself, through other people, and really noticing your cycles of, okay, if I'm having this problem accessing love in relationships, work, whatever it may be, how am I approaching it? If it's not working, let me find a different way, let me go deeper, and so on. I do have an article on my website, on my musings page, that goes into a super detailed analysis of Venus retrograde. It breaks it down into each of Leo, Hydra, and Cancer, and then also includes horoscopes, I guess you could call them, a house by house analysis, so that you can pinpoint how this transit will influence you specifically based on where it's happening in your chart. So you would look where Cancer and Leo are in your chart and that transitionary area, and that's how you would know. You would see what house it's there. So if you're interested in that, it is on my musings page. It is available for members only, but if you feel called, please do check that out.
Yes, a lot of good, valuable information. So
Beautiful.
I also want to mention with that, for the Venus retrograde, she never quite perfectly aligned with Regulus. Like, she actually stopped right on top of Alphard and Hydra. So what that means is the whole retrograde, we're reworking those things. It is tied into the sovereignty, but you're not actually going to get that quantum leap until she crosses over or aligns with Regulus. She pretty much does cross over Regulus. It's not far off the ecliptic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important to know. Is like, it's going to be this whole period of like reworking, and then at the end it'll be like this sovereignty pop. It'll be like, pow, oh my gosh, something just shifted. It was huge. It was you're working on the divine feminine, so it's magnetic, so it will bring something to you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay,
it will
so-
be big.
Yeah, for sure. I would just like to add as well, because we talk a lot about with Venus retrograde, like, be careful of old lovers who pop up and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's interesting, like, Venus looks like a mirror. And so it's going from like the divine masculine and back into the divine feminine. And I do feel for people who are ready and aligned, they're going to start to connect, at least in the heart space, with that divine mirror. And I feel like that connection will come into materialization or manifestation when Venus and Mars come back together in Capricorn in February, when things can kind of become material again. So I feel like that is really kind of the completion point of this journey that began with the shadow period back in June.
Yeah, that's
That's
an interesting
beautiful.
point.
Mhm.
Yeah, the divine feminine, divine masculine coming
Mhm.
together, and something comes anew from it. Yes, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to
And it's
February.
also interesting because Venus is retrograding through Cancer and Leo. Cancer rules over the breasts and heart, and Leo is the heart and the hair. But so there's a lot of heart activations, heart chakra activations that are going to be happening. And if you are noticing anything with your heart, let it open, let it blossom. If you notice that it's closing, that would be a good time to dig deeper into why your heart is closed, get rid of heart shields and things like that.
Yeah, process through that stuff that's causing you to have heart shields in the first place.
Exactly.
Bleeding heart flower essence is a really powerful medicine for helping us to dissolve those heart shields.
That's beautiful. I have a bunch of bleeding hearts. I've been wondering what to do with them.
Oh,
So
Nice.
there we go. Yeah, let's do that.
Georgia
It's one of my
with the
favorite
golden
flowers.
nugget.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's funny. So the significant conjunctions, Venus will be conjunct Sun. She'll be retrograde conjunct Sun August 13th at aligned. When I use the at, it's aligned, but like exactly aligned with Mirac and Ursa Major. So I always feel like Ursa Major coding is like planetary shield type things that want to come through for people who have that coding. So that's kind of what's going on there. That could be.
And so when she
Spirit has a lot to do with Mother
field,
Spirit too.
Yeah, Mama Bear.
Mama Bear. So I feel like it's important to say, when you talk about the planetary shield, you're not talking about that false heart shielding that takes us away from our emotional body. But
think of it like magnetic,
the
the magnetic field around the earth.
Yeah.
How it looks like the form of a feminine or an angel. It's like, yeah, not hard walls. It's just natural, organic biofield type energy. Like we all have an aura. That's an energy field that is a protector energy around us, right?
So I like to look at it like a semi-permeable membrane that has like enzymatic doorways that let the things we want in and keeps the things that we don't want out.
Exactly.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
We might need to make a graphic for that because that is an excellent visual. That's exactly what it's like.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. And that's what sovereignty really is like being able to choose who you connect with and choose who you don't want to connect with. You're like, this no longer is in alignment for me, and I choose to release this. And the hard part can be those things don't always want to release you. So that's kind of where the work is.
Especially when they're siphoning energy from you.
Right. Exactly.
When it's a parasitic relationship, why would they want to let go? And it's when you are determined to let go of things that are not good for you or no longer serve you, that they will try to attach more and more. And so when you tell the universe, I'm ready to let this go, I'm ready to move on, the universe is going to say, are you sure? And give you a test. That's a big thing about retrogrades in general. And we have, I think, 6 right now, 5 or 6, and there will be more coming too. So
yeah. A lot.
So just notice, you'll always be asked, are you sure? And you need to be sure.
Yeah.
Exercise your free will.
Yes. So does that feel like everything for Venus?
So.
Okay. There's a lot going on with Venus. She's
there is
for end of mid-July to like end of August, early September. So
September 3rd the retrograde ends, and then it's sort of just that contemplation period of the post shadow.
I was thinking when Mars went retrograde earlier this year, it was really recoding Orion War stuff, and Venus is really like we're diving into connecting more into that primordial Shakti, the sovereign feminine. I'm like, those are some big recalibrations from Venus and Mars this year. We're doing some serious lifting with those retrogrades. So Mars is in Leo. There's so many planets in Leo right now, y'all.
Yeah.
Mars is in Leo right now. He will move into Virgo on August 16th or into that Leo Virgo void space for a few days. So he's floating into Virgo. Doesn't have any major planetary conjunctions, but he does have a few significant fixed star alignments. I think one of the interesting ones, and this goes back earlier this month when Venus went retrograde, and I didn't put it on here, but I remember it. When Venus went retrograde, Mars was at Thuban, was aligned with Thuban in Draco. I was like, oh boy, we are recoding like low vibe dragon stuff. Like, woo, spicy. So that's also like, I feel like whenever a planet is in that station period, wherever everything else is it's like a snapshot. This is what we're working on. And overtone, it's the overtone for the whole retrograde period. So it's like the Mars energy in that snapshot was sitting at Thuban, so reworking low vibe reptilian things so we can transmute them into high vibe dragon things. That's a
Exactly.
lot. If you go to Ascension Glossary and look up Thuban, like you'll understand. That's so major. So some of the significant fixed star alignments, this is Alcade, typos, in Ursa Major. So planetary shielding type things, that's August 22nd. Notice that day again. 22 is also a master builder number, y'all.
Mhm.
There is some number things going on with lots of celestial bodies this month. And then he will be aligned with Super Galactic Center, which is very close to another Draco star, Aldebaran, but Aldebaran alignment is in like a couple days into September, so I didn't mention that on here, but it will be aligned with Super Galactic Center, which is seen through Virgo constellation on the 31st. So that's right around that blue moon. It's like the day after the blue moon. But still, this is like quantum dragon architecture, like coding realities from a quantum play. Like that's powerful place for Mars to be. So Mars is doing energy. So just, maybe do some things that day to connect yourself in this quantum way. Like I know you guys that do this high level work kind of have an idea. It's like that's just a really good day to do it, like right around that full moon at the end of the month. Be like, what kind of quantum coding is ready to be anchored on this planet? That kind of question.
And for me, Mars moving to Virgo, because the planet of action is in the sign of daily routine, habits, health, and gut health specifically. So a lot of it has to do with what you eat, since Virgo is often seen holding grain. There's going to be a lot of ability to recode your routines. And with all of the Saturn, Capricorn, Aquarius energy, it's basically going to be do your routines and habits actually reflect your long-term goals and what is good for whatever class consciousness you are a part of. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities to change things. So if you're noticing, and again, with this Venus retrograde, do I love doing this? Do you really love snacking on that thing? Do you really love going to that location? Instead of maybe going to a bar, would you like to go to the library or a dance class or something like that? So there's going to be a lot of shifts, and let them happen. Go let Virgo and Mars take you where the most love is, where you feel the most love, where you're enjoying what you're doing in every way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Because, Virgo is the fertile virgin, right? So the overall thing is like going back to original templates, angelic templates.
Exactly.
So those healthy habits, patterns, and routines really support moving into like your original coding, basically. So that's kind of Mars is kind of pushing you in that way to like re-access quantum things. And it's as easy as like, just put down that giant tub of ice cream, or maybe go for a walk instead.
They're very simple solutions. They're not always easy, but they are very simple.
This is true.
It's really making those conscious choices. Change comes from moment to moment. In that moment, what can you do to anchor a better reality in for yourself? And Virgo is the angel. And the way that I work with Virgo is you anchor your utopian timeline. So it's basically, that's how you anchor your heaven on earth, is through Virgo energy, which must be reflected in your daily habits, because that creates your reality. It's also, Virgo rules over your organizational structures and cleanliness habits and things like that, because, your heaven is not going to be a dirty, disorganized mess. You also have to have good health as well. So anything that doesn't feel like your heaven, that's going to stick out. And just make as many moves as you can towards your heaven or your utopian timeline.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Declutter your house, do some organizing, like whatever. It's very practical, right? It's like you said, Sashi,
Y'all have
like
said it all.
achievable.
It is.
Well, we're going to let you say it all about Jupiter. Georgia, because I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this Almanac Menkar alignment with Jupiter, and that seems to be the most significant thing he's doing this month. So,
well, I actually think you probably have a lot to add to that as well. But I did take notice because Jupiter only moves through an area once every 12 years. So I feel like it's really significant where Jupiter is, and especially at this particular alignment. So Almanac is like I look at it almost like the ankle shackle of Andromeda. And Andromeda holds a lot of original template of like the original innocence that is to be reclaimed. And Jupiter will magnify anything it touches. So it's going to show you very clearly how you've shackled your own innocence, but it will also show you very clearly how to liberate yourself from those shackles. And then especially then with that alignment with Menkar, which is the nose of the sea monster. So this is our memory, our galactic memory, and this has to do with hybridization trauma and the recollection of all of our experiences. This feels like a really kind of beautiful opportunity to free ourselves and to remember who we truly are in a really profound way, on a primordial level, actually, with Cetus and also with Andromeda.
yeah, it's like extreme polarities, like the depths of the psychological trauma and the heights of what is possible with that Andromedan energy. It's fascinating alignment. That area in the sky is really intense.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, a lot of us have had our memory, I mean, all of us, we've had our memories wiped again and again and again. And that's a part of our awakening process. So it feels like with Jupiter moving through this space as well, we're going to really have a lot of awakening around our galactic memories, but maybe not just the hard ones, maybe actually some of the really good ones too. Because Jupiter is the great benefic. So
yeah,
the things that
Jupiter
are hard,
is amazing.
yeah, the things that are hard to see will be easier to swallow in a sense. And then, I mean, we're not exactly swallowing, but easier to like understand. And then the things that we have been not seeing that are actually really beautiful and to our spiritual benefit will be revealed.
Yeah. And I feel like too, in a chart energetically, Jupiter reflects guides, like your guides. So especially for that transit, because it is intense, like I would seriously, if you know you have guides, like ask for assistance in processing whatever needs to come up to reconnect with yourself at those really deep levels so you can just fly.
Tune in with your avatar, tune in with your soul group. And this is also going to really like a lot of people who have been kind of sitting on their spiritual teacher-ness inside will start to feel activated as well.
Yeah. If they can process through some things. Like that's interesting because Jupiter on a low octave can get into guru complexes. So it could be the surfacing of that kind of stuff at a really deep subconscious level, and you get to deal with it and get humble, right? If you want to get bigger, you got to get humble.
And it is true that Jupiter magnifies what it touches. So if you're having some out of hand ego about who you are, it's going to blow that up.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be all up in your face for you to see it.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a very intense area. I do consider that to be true sky Aries. Like the whole Aries Cetus thing is definitely cuspy all the way through. And I think maybe we can make a little mention that our first zodiac episode will probably be talking about this area of the sky.
Absolutely.
I do feel like where Jupiter is, because he is direct, he just left the super cuspy part that I consider to be both Aries and Cetus, and he's starting to move definitely more into straight Aries energy. So I feel like we are in the Aries portion of the constellation as far as influence, just having left intense Cetus Aries blended energy. That's the good news. Jupiter's been through the rough patch.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And
Yeah.
honestly, working with Jupiter is fun. I would say the easiest way to connect with Jupiter is make sure that you're having a good time, because Jupiter is definitely more of a hang loose archetype than compared to Saturn, where it needs to be a little bit more disciplined. So to go through this intense area of the sky from Pisces to Cetus to Aries, it has a bit of a more upbeat energy of like, how can we make this fun? Like, oh, you
Mhm.
have trauma, here's some flashcards, let's color them, or something like that. So when you're working with Jupiter, don't get too serious or it'll be harder to connect with.
Yeah.
I saw something once that described Jupiter as the fat, happy uncle of the zodiac, and you
I
can kind of see
definitely see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
is.
call Jupiter the sugar daddy. It's the sugar daddy. You're going to have fun. You're going to get educated. You're going to travel the world.
You're gonna have money. It's about wealth,
Yes. Yeah.
opportunity as
Abundance.
well.
Abundance.
Mhm.
Yeah. Shifting in that
Yeah.
vibration of abundance.
And it's spiritual wealth and it's physical wealth. I mean, both of the benefics touch on that, which because it's our birthright to have the things that we need and desire.
Yeah. Yeah, when
Absolutely.
I did a period of dream work a few years ago where all the planets showed up as like characters in my, and it took a couple months to figure out that's what was happening. I realized it on the Jupiter archetype. He showed up as Hagrid from Harry Potter, and he was mischievously but having a really good time throwing these black fruits at cars driving by on the road. And I was like,
Wow.
that's Jupiter. There's some stuff I need to look at. But that was Jupiter. So he did show up as a fat, happy guy. He was happy being mischievous.
That's awesome.
So keep a lookout for those kinds of things in your dreams too, because the planets will show up as characters and you will know where you're at in your processing work. But whatever Jupiter's doing, he's always having a good time at it.
Yes, he is. Yep.
So that's super funny. So moving on to Chiron. You wanna do Chiron, Sashi? I mean, it's not doing much. It's just retrograding, but
I could. I mean, we can all sort of piecemeal it together. Chiron went retrograde the same day that Venus did. So even though it's a completely different area of the sky, it's still very important. So Venus retrograde, as we talked about, all the topics already, but Chiron is the key to healing. So a lot of it has to do with one's healing journey, healing gifts, the ability to alchemize. It's the ruling body of Ophiuchus. And so a lot of it has to do with one's healing journey. So because Venus and Chiron started their retrograde the same day, obviously a lot of the stuff coming up with Venus retrograde, as well as Saturn and Saturn retrograding, Pluto retrograding. I think that's it. Neptune retrograding as well. There we go. All of them are going to require healing. So since Chiron's in Pisces, a lot of the healing is going to be on a deep spiritual level, because Pisces represents the totality of all existence. It's sort of truth with a T, and it represents the collective consciousness, like everythingness. It's source energy. So it's the most divine, true thing, which of course can't be necessarily comprehended by a human mind. Generally, but it is the grand all that is. When Chiron's retrograding in Pisces, a lot of healing is going to come up through spiritual bypassing. Since Pisces is the sign of spiritual alignment, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up about addiction, especially to substances, because Pisces rules addiction and any sort of mind-altering substance. That includes pharmaceuticals. I feel like I need to mention that for some people. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up when it comes to that. Basically anything that you've been using to escape your reality, because Pisces is the sign of escapism, that's really going to come up with this Chiron retrograde. So there's a lot of deep healing on these deep-seated sort of I hate my reality programs, or I don't want to be here, or this isn't what I want. And again, with Venus retrograding, a lot of it has to do with, okay, well then what can you do to make your life more loving? What can you do to be around someone that you love? What can you do to love yourself? What can you do to love your work, love your job? Literally from the second you wake up even in your astral space, how to bring it more love. And so there's going to be a lot of that deep healing in Pisces. And really the only way to go about it is to get in alignment with your own soul, you know, with your highest self, or your most self.
Yeah.
Because it is going to require you, if you are doing things that go against what your soul really wants, that it hurts. And that's why it needs healing.
Yeah. You get to create that bridge by facing those things, for sure. Addressing them.
This is definitely reestablishing trust, like trust in source, trust in the universe, trust in God, however you say that. Because the Chiron on Pisces is also like feeling like, I trusted you, God, and you let me down. So there's a way, and we know that's not true. So we're healing victimization ideals, and we're healing this idea that we couldn't trust in God, in source, and in the universe, and that we can relax into that trust. So that, I feel like, is another significant piece to add to what Sachi said.
And I personally have Chiron in Pisces natally, and I can tell you it can also be surfacing past lives where you did things out of alignment, belief systems that are not true, basically. So you could be addressing old past life things that are still clogging up the works to connecting to your true spiritual nature. Yeah, I've had some weird past lives that were definitely like, it was like voodoo type stuff. So it could be reconciling things like that. And like Georgia said, there is a lot of trust that you have to sort of learn to soften into, be like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It was a past life. And yeah, you do have to learn that you're always supported. And that's the truth. It will always be there. Yeah, the support will always be there.
Yeah.
So
I read something about Chiron retrograde in Pisces that was like, this position particularly is a place where you really can heal all things. Like we'll often say that Chiron's a thing you can never heal, which I don't agree with, but I do.
That's a tropical belief, because they don't use Ophiuchus. So of course, Chiron can never be home.
Right. But it is that thing that you like come back to again. Like, oh, now that I'm here, I have to look at it from this perspective. It's kind of, it has that way of coming back again. But I read something that actually really resonated with, and I wonder what you have to say about this, Janine, because it's your natal position. But that when Chiron is retrograde in Pisces, that you can particularly heal the unhealable thing.
Yeah, totally. Like when any planet in a natal chart is in retrograde, I feel like you're reworking something from a past life at a higher octave. You're just naturally inclined to do it. So yeah, you're totally, that's the purpose of something being, in this case, Chiron retrograde in a birth chart or something would definitely be like, you're building a bridge here to connect to the truth, basically, of your existence. And that's a big leap in a lifetime, depending on where it is. But
and so this
like
transit in a way would offer that to people as well.
Yes,
to like make that bridge.
And specifically Andromedan energy, bridging to Andromedan energy, because the alignments for the whole retrograde are between Saturata, which is the heart of Andromeda, and Alpheratz, which is shared with Pegasus in the Great Square Pegasus. So Alpheratz is technically an Andromeda star, but it is, if you look at the Great Square Pegasus, is a shared star with Pegasus. So that's talking about Andromeda matrix things like Aquael matrix, Aquapherions, Mother Arc coding, like lots of stuff, and original template DNA, light bodies stuff. So there's a huge bridge that can come through this Chiron retrograde. And I feel like the whole retrograde is going to be influencing the Venus retrograde. Chiron will continue to retrograde further, several months after Venus goes direct. So the influence is really going to be showing up for the Venus retrograde, and then Chiron will continue. You'll continue a retrograde work with Chiron as he, progresses through the rest of the year. So working more into Andromeda, but for a while it'll be like working specifically with divine feminine Venus type things. So lots of what do they call that? The aurora platforms. I feel like there's a lot of aurora platforms that want to sort of be bridged here to the Andromeda matrix, which is a big deal.
Yeah. And when it's aligning with the Monoceros, there is also a lot of unicorn healing that can happen. So if you have some unicorn energy coming to you, that would be a great time to work with unicorns during that Chiron retrograde in that area.
Well, it's Pegasus. This
Or
is
Pegasus.
I
Oh,
will
okay.
say though, you're not wrong.
But
It's funny
same,
that it came up
yeah.
because Venus will be transiting across Monoceros alignments. So that is factual. There will be
Okay, yeah, I
timeline
meant
jumping
Pegasus,
available.
but yeah.
yeah. But there will
get
be
messed up with them all
Monoceros
the
type
time.
timeline jumping available through the Venus retrograde portion of it. Yeah, for sure.
Do we know when Chiron stations direct?
It's I can't remember if it's like October. It's later in the year.
Yeah, I don't have eyes on it.
That's
But
okay.
it's not this month. We know that.
No, it's not this. It's not September. Might be the end of October. I will write it down the next time. I was just like, we'll just talk about what's in September.
Totally.
Otherwise, I could spend way too much time on these lists.
Oh
I know
yeah,
exactly.
no worries. It was just like I'm always putting together little pieces.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh,
what is
it'll
that?
be interesting. Wherever he stations direct, it will for sure be interesting.
Mhm.
Probably be like equinox or something.
Okay. Are we ready to move to Saturn?
I think
Yes.
so.
All
Oh,
right.
Saturn.
So we have the Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. So Saturn, here, let me pull up just the visual. Let's see where Saturn is at. So Saturn's going to be retrograding in Aquarius. This is another transit that if you want to learn a little bit more about it, I have plentiful information on my musings page for members if you're interested in becoming a member, where I go into detail about Saturn's transit through Aquarius and the retrograde. So Saturn's going to be moving through Aquarius. It moved into Aquarius this year, 2023. And it will continue its transit through Aquarius through 2026. And we will have 3 retrogrades. So we are in the first Saturn retrograde of Aquarius. So Saturn moving through Aquarius, it's basically a lot of Saturn can be in our time. It can represent a lot of patriarchal structures, social structures, different sort of social hierarchies. It can represent wealth distribution as well, and anything that's basically stepwise success. So it can be, big money, big companies. It's definitely the lower octave of Saturn, but that's as a collective the way that we sort of are experiencing it right now, especially as it moves through Aquarius, which again, Aquarius is the sign of humanitarianism, of class consciousness, of science and technology. So when Saturn is retrograding in Aquarius, we are going to see a lot of big money, big business distortions within the science and tech community. We can see the way that government structures is also Saturn, the way that governmental stuff can really be influencing class consciousness, especially through utilization of science and technology. And it can be to sort of like Saturn retrograding in Aquarius it feels like sort of the old timey way of things trying to stop the new era, I guess, right? We're not really in the age of Aquarius, but Aquarius is known for being very progressive, tech savvy, and using science and technology for the good of all, for the good of humanity. Whereas Saturn in Aquarius would use it for like weapons and things of that nature, sort of to control populations and things like that. So we will definitely see some lower aspects of Saturn happening during Aquarius. But on a personal level, it's a really great time to assess your career, your mission, what you are doing long term. Saturn is that 5-year plan, 30-year plan type energy. and how you can connect to community and groups that are really aligned with you in that way, because Aquarius is groups of 3 or more. So it's community and group relationships in all ways. And it can also represent like how you're utilizing different technologies in order to achieve your goals. It's a really great time to assess that through 2026. Through all the, fearing this technology or don't use this, don't do that.
Yeah, the organic tech is your light body. So from a metaphysical inner alchemy standpoint, it's like, do you have any karma connected to the collective? As a human collective, that would be energetically people that do have that outstanding, which is like everybody on this planet, is going to be processing through karma to engage with your original organic technology. But you can see the downside of it would be like, yeah, we could go off the rails here in the tech situation.
Absolutely.
People trying to manifest through Saturn.
We've already seen it. We've seen the clones. We've seen, bionic bodies and stuff. They're already doing this. And again, it's a certain class. It's a certain social class of people who are already sort of engaging in this type of technology.
Yeah.
So obviously
they want to manifest. Yeah, they want to manifest that reality. That's where we see like it can be silly things. The inserts, energetic inserts look like little silly things, but it's literally like a metaphysical energetic insert. Like when, say, on Instagram, all that AI art started blowing up. It's like, oh, look, something in the energetics, they inserted something and it's showing up as this program that they're trying to get people addicted to.
Exactly. And not saying that you can never use any sort of AI, especially when it comes to work and stuff. It's not that AI is evil. It's the way that it's being used can be used for evil. AI itself is a neutral entity, just like any other in a way.
It's a tool,
for example,
right?
Exactly. It's okay to have a Roomba. You're not bad for using that type of AI. Are a lot of Roombas selling your floor plan and data information to your local government? Yeah, they are. So again, it's the way that it's being utilized. I mean, you can obviously disable some of those programs, but again, you have to use discernment
or
and
buy a
what's
broom
right for you. Right. Yeah. Or you could buy a broom. You could do it the old school way. But
and then to speak to that, like to that old school way, and that's the thing, all of this stuff, they're utilizing the energy, the true energy of Saturn and Aquarius, because Saturn is the original planet of Aquarius. So when we're not in its fallen aspect, which we are in, but when we can tune into what is not fallen, this is a time that our own inner technology can really blossom. This is a time where we can really tune in with our DNA and really do some major powerful recoding and kind of like rebraiding in those dormant strands and waking them back up, because we are the technology. We have everything inside of us.
1,000%.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's literally
so there's
like
a really
we have
full spectrum with
opportunities.
Saturn.
Yeah, there really is. It's the highest highs and lows. It will manifest anything. That's the energetic, is like the Saturn moon thing is a manifesting combination of planetary archetypes. So it's literally like we've got 2 opportunities with the full moons to deal with Saturnian type energies, one in Capricorn, one in Aquarius. Literally talk to Saturn. Where's my karma? What can I work on? What's practical to work on now to re-engage with my original organic light body technology?
And especially with all that Leo and Cancer and like the light body stuff going on with that, I feel like it's really important to like not just fall for everything that you hear. Now this person's saying this, now this person's saying that, and people are just like, stop doing that. Start to really listen to your own inner wellspring, because like that wellspring of Aquarius, it wants to show you like your true self, who you truly are.
Yeah,
I feel like
turn off the
Aquarius
TV.
is like the shaman. Turn off the TV and turn on the inside.
Turn on the breath work,
third
turn
eye.
off the TV.
Yeah.
Get grounded.
And that's another thing with the use of AI during Saturn and Aquarius, which all the AI hype really started when Saturn moved into Aquarius. and I believe it was February of 2023 or January of 2023.
That was about when the AI
That's
art stuff was
all those
blowing up.
apps and things started anchoring in. Oh darn, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Maybe this will help you pick it back up. Because I remember when Saturn peaked into Aquarius in 2022 for just a little while before going back into Capricorn.
Yeah.
I feel like that was when Elon Musk was going to buy Twitter and all this like precursor stuff kind of came up. And then it kind of just, we stopped talking about it. And then when it fully went in, then it just exploded.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. So yeah, now that we have all these like AI programs, you know, there's an AI app for literally everything. You know, you can make a fake video, you can make a fake image, you can have AI write an entire novel series for you. And for those who are called to do those sorts of things, okay. But again, you cannot trust what is being shown to you. You cannot trust that an image, video, even if it looks real, even if it sounds real, you know, this is really the time where you have to look within and ask yourself, what is true for me? You know, what is true for you? You need to ask yourself, what is true for me? And because you can no longer, I mean, we've never really been able to trust what's on the internet in a certain way. You know, there's always an ounce of skeptic that should be in everyone, but even more so now, we already know the way that the media manipulates things, but now they are going to be able to have hyper realistic things that they are going to try to sell as a reality. And so the less you tune into it, the better. The more you tune into the heavens above, the better.
Yeah, discernment is key.
I was just going to say that, Janine. Discernment is our superpower.
And that's Saturnian, right? Like,
yeah,
discernment. And I think it's super funny, like the AI, the walkout in Hollywood is like AI, you know, copying their likeness and doing all that stuff, which is hilarious to me because it's like it's a simulacrum. It's a copy of a copy that doesn't even have a real foothold in reality. It's like Hollywood is make believe anyway, y'all. So the argument's moot.
I know. And it just goes to show, you know, people who sold their soul to that industry, literally, you know, some people have contracts and they just work there. Some people have literally sold their soul. And now they're saying, okay, well, we have your soul. And now we're going to take your likeness, which is also basically taking their financial power away. And they don't have their soul, so they have nothing to bargain with. So it's really a very interesting time. And it's definitely, you know, the personification of Saturn retrograding in Aquarius, because that is a certain class of people. You know, they're not the elites, so to speak, but they are the puppets, you know, that tell the stories to us. And so now they are being shown that even they are not safe. That's right. Even though they went along with whatever. So yeah, it's a very interesting time.
Yes, it is.
Friends,
the play out will be fascinating to watch.
We are 10 minutes shy of 2 hours. So I just wanted to give a little time check.
We could also do the rest of the outer planets on our next transit report.
No.
Okay.
No,
right,
let's keep it all in the same.
All right,
we'll just, because the outer planets, I was like, these can be really brief because they don't move a lot. We don't need to go in depth with a lot of
each
stuff.
one should probably have its own episode because it is significant, but we'll just do a quick where is it, what's it doing.
We'll totally do, when we do planets, we'll do a planet episode on each of them for sure, but I don't feel like this needs to go over to the next transit chat.
Okay. All right.
Because we'll be into October transits and it'll just be too confusing.
All right.
So outer planets. Uranus is on the Aries Taurus cusp. So he's really kind of hanging out in the void space between Aries and Taurus. He will station retrograde at the end of August on the 27th. So he will be backing up into Aries proper. Goes full retrograde on the 29th. So stations on the 27th. Full retrograde on the 29th. Moving back into Aries. No super significant fixed star alignments. No significant conjunctions for August. So yeah, just kind of shaking it up, moving back into Aries, working on that I am power.
Back that Uranus up.
Back that ain't. Won't go there.
Back into Aries.
Back it up. So yeah, working on Aries type things. Who are you? What additions? I feel like Uranus archetype like brings sudden changes, that it brings things into your life, whereas Pluto rips things out. So it could be sudden shifts that will potentially help you remember who you are.
Definitely.
And Uranus is that great awakener, and it really does have that code of waking us up to who we truly are. So going back into Aries is going to like finish whatever we didn't get out of it. It's first run through.
Yeah. It's also like social upheaval, revolution. It's the planet that causes that type of energy as well. So in Aries,
it is kind of connected to Aquarian type vibes. So yeah, totally revolutionary.
Yes. It can influence
a revolution of the
science and
cells
tech and things like that. Yeah, definitely. Which is interesting, Aries being the first, and Uranus transiting through Aries, we had the first like commercialization of technology of like growing babies in those pods. I've seen that circulating around, which started in Aries and Uranus. And I wouldn't be surprised when Saturn gets to Aries. That's when like the big business of that is really going to be sort of, they're going to try to normalize it, but I reject that timeline.
I can see that.
Yeah, totally. So the retrograde effect will be like going inward, introspecting to know who you are more, or deal with some of those issues that may be, Uranian in that way, where it could be like rebellion of the self within the self.
Although it feels like a rebellion that's about an attunement, because it like literally looks like a tuning fork to me, and it's connected with the celestial father that was like predated worship, time of worship. So it feels like that rebellion is kind of like almost about like coming back to a truer, more like sovereign coding.
Full circle moments coming in hot, but you got to do that inner work because it's a retrograde. Uranus, he does look like a tuning fork or an antenna, because he kind of represents that high technology. It took technology to view Uranus. He's the first planet that you cannot see with the naked eye, so that's why he's considered an outer planet. So
and why he rules over science and tech too.
That's right.
It also like alien stuff, that's another thing that Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. I'm sure everybody has seen what's going on in Congress and these disclosures of aliens, but when Saturn's retrograding, you gotta smell the air of suspicion, because something stinks about that. And pretty much anyone who has done a lot of alien stuff and followed alien technology and stories and disclosures, I'm sure everyone has seen like, hey, this isn't legit. It's like if the government is saying certain things, then it is a play, right?
It's a dog and
theater
pony
of it
show.
all.
It's theater. It's literally like what Hollywood is.
Exactly. That's
just
C-SPAN. C-SPAN's the most boring Hollywood.
Distraction for sure.
They're all related. They all know each other. They all hang out.
Yeah. So Uranus being an outer planet, he works within your subconscious energy. It's not a super conscious thing. And he also acts as a square, like as an aspect. So it can be tense, inner turmoil. Like that's why I like that rebellion use of like the connotation of rebellion. It could be like, it could feel like inner turmoil, because he's surfacing things to help you make a shift in consciousness. He's really trying to help you make a quantum connection, because if you can't reframe things, like let all the information surface and then reframe it to understand it from a higher perspective, you can't go deeper into the outer planets. You can't do Pluto level work. You can't do Neptune level work, because you haven't mastered Uranus. You haven't learned to work with Uranus. So that's really what he's trying to teach us, I feel like, is how to reframe your reality, how to take all that stuff, use your discernment, and then go, oh, I see the bigger picture. I see the game. Now I know some rules about how to play the game. So, and he does get you closer to activating that light body technology. He's very much like, I work a lot with that planetary archetype, like in dream work. I've literally been on Uranus. I have karma that is tied to that planet, or it's being held at that planet. And he's literally just trying to shake things up to get you further into your subconscious, basically. So he can hold some weird stuff, like you said, like weird alien stuff, past alien lives. It can be weird if you've had low octave stuff that's like ritual, weird ritual stuff. He can hold that kind of energy that
under like a
surface.
scientific lens as well, of like, this is for science.
Yeah.
This is for the betterment of humanity.
Yeah.
A
the
lot
slippery
of stuff
slope argument there.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So he is a tricky archetype to work with. He can show up as shapeshifter because he will take any form. He's like chaotic neutral. He will take any form to get the point across, but he's an intense planet. Oh, that's what I was going to say. He acts like Venus and Mercury put together, but at a subconscious level. So it's very somatic. It's also very electrical, and it can just be like cellular memories coming up, and you have to learn how to navigate it. But it can literally show up like that. So nothing to sneeze at, even though he's an outer planet. All those outer planets really pack a punch because they're coming from the subconscious.
Yeah. So the outer Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto really help with overarching themes. These are things on a personal level that will be sort of like an energetic imprint of a decade or more. These are
generational
sort of
things.
Like Neptune is sort of your background emotion of like, wow, I felt that way like in my 20s, like this was the sort of like the malaise of emotion that I was feeling, or in my 30s or 40s. It's sort of the background stuff, whereas like the moon would be your day-to-day emotional body and how you're regulating it.
Yeah. Yes, Uranus can be intense.
Shall we move to Neptune?
Let's do it. Let's go to Neptune.
Right. Yeah.
I love Neptune.
I love Neptune too.
He's an
What's not to
awesome
love?
planet.
Well.
Yeah.
Who wants to do Neptune? I mean, just to sum it up super quick, and then we can riff.
Yeah.
Okay. Neptune's in retrograde all month for August. In the constellation of Pisces, he doesn't move very fast, so he's pretty much going to be around the same spot all month, moving backwards. No significant planetary conjunctions. He doesn't have any specific fixed star alignments, but he is between fixed star Sheet, and fixed star Markab in Pegasus. So basically, the reworking of consciousness type things, subconscious connections, is going to help you activate DNA templates, like original organic light body templates, and recoding your DNA type thing. So it doesn't mean it's magically going to happen. It means you're going to do the consciousness work to connect with yourself, clear out emotional body things, whatever's in your subconscious, to activate more DNA templates, to get your wings, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Wing activations, things like that.
And also really like dream. I mean, I feel like since Neptune has been in Pisces, I don't know about you guys, but my dreams have been interdimensional and just really, really powerful. So, pay attention to your dreams, protect yourself before you sleep, have some sleep hygiene that you do for yourself, so that when you go into those really deep places and those quantum retrievals, so that you can do the work to upgrade this DNA, that you're not just flagging yourself out there in the astral. Make sure that you're, tending to your garden, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, and Neptune is going to be in Pisces through at least 2040, it's looking.
Yeah.
It depends on where you mark the first degree of Aries, but it's going to be, 2044, 45. So this is a big transit. This is a very long transit. Neptune is very slow in its orbital, or it takes a long time, I should say. It's not slow. It has a many year orbital. I think it's 164 years. So it takes 164 years for Neptune to go through all of the constellations. So this is a big one. It entered, I think, in 2022. Can't remember.
Yes.
But it definitely brings a lot of it. Neptune's at home in Pisces, we should mention. So it's in its home constellation. And because of that, its Piscean energy is amplified in our life. So spirituality, spiritual embodiment is a huge one. It's a call for everyone to align with their soul. And a lot of people have this perception of like being spiritual means you're gonna, be a certain archetype or whatever. But no, spiritual alignment means you're aligned with your soul. It doesn't mean you have to be a spiritualist. It doesn't mean you have to read tarot or anything like that. It means that you know what your soul is meant to do and that you're aligned with it. Even if it's becoming an artist or a candle maker or a writer or I don't know. I want to say banker, but are there going to be bankers in the new world? Who knows? But whatever you are called to do, that is really what you are meant to do. So Neptune in Pisces is really that reclamation of your soul self and understanding your own soul. And so things like, outdated religions, the guru stuff, all of that is really going to collapse as Neptune moves through Pisces through 2044 or so. Yeah. And we will also see the illusionists, the delusions increasing. Neptune through Pisces is also a time of mass escapism on the lower octave, mass addiction, and things like that. It's also, Pisces is where things go to actually die and rest, to be sort of recycled into a new birth through Aries. So Neptune moving through Pisces, Pisces and Neptune both rule altered states of consciousness, and sickness is an altered state of consciousness. So anything that is not being addressed with the moon is going to be addressed with Neptune. So anything that you're not managing emotionally on a day-to-day basis is going to bring you emotional malaise through Neptune, and that can manifest as dis-ease. So Neptune through Pisces, there are going to be a lot of people who would rather pass on to their next life than do the work in this lifetime. And so it's not something to be surprised of as we move through, the mid 40s here.
Yeah, Sachi, I was going to say that same thing. I can see a lot of people using this as an exit plan, actually.
For sure.
Yeah. And just as the archetype, like in my galactic origins readings, Neptune is the portal planet connected to the higher self outside of the time matrix. So he is a significator of connections to your higher self. Like Georgia said, definitely the dreams will be vivid, or you can gain a lot of information or, connect and communicate with your higher self through the dreams, and also meditating. Like you can take proactive action and be like, I will, record my dreams. I will pay attention to my dreams, work on dream lucidity, astral traveling, things like that. And also I will sit down while I'm awake and meditate to sort of bring those two states simultaneously towards each other at the same time. So you're basically just lucid 24/7. That's the goal. So that is an opportunity with this retrograde for sure. Connecting with your higher self.
The waking dream exercise, right? Where we see the symbolism and we see the connectedness in all things. Yeah. And it's just actually being present.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So have some convos with your higher self.
Yep.
And stabilize that connection. That's really kind of what the retrograde's about. Stabilize that connection.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And in terms of accessing those spaces, when Neptune's retrograding in Pisces, because Pisces and Neptune both rule altered states of consciousness and also mind-altering substances, I usually recommend to stay away from mind-altering substances when Neptune's retrograde. That's in general, using substances is kind of the cheap and dirty way to connect to Neptune. It's like, oh, I don't want to do the meditative work. Instead, I will, take whatever drug of choice it is to get to those sort of revelations. So, you can only do that for a certain period of time until it becomes spiritual bypassing. So you will also see, gurus and people like that who abuse medicine instead of use medicine. That will also be a really big thing to look out for, is making sure that you're using, not abusing, or really not using at all.
Yeah.
Because it starts to use you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Become its puppet. Yeah.
And lower dimensional, like the shadow aspect of Neptune, you can really become addicted to anything that's an escape. Drugs is just one segment of that, but that's something to look out for during Neptune retrograde. But anything, television, so even certain past life relationships is big with Neptune too, where you're addicted to them. If someone's like a drug to you, you need to be careful of that too.
Yeah. Those lower astrals are no joke. So just, all you have to do is just
Loves, I need to take a 2-minute bathroom break.
Okay.
I know we're almost done, but just y'all can continue if you'd like, and I'll just be back in 2 minutes.
All right, sounds good. Cool. All right, shall we go to Pluto?
Let's do Pluto.
All right.
He's in retrograde too, just cruising back through Sagittarius. No significant planetary conjunctions. He just kind of free and clear over on that side of the chart. Significant fixed star alignments. He is retrograding away from Altair in Aquila constellation. Well, like retrograding away from the alignment by about 3 degrees. So he is continuing to separate from an alignment with Altair, which is like the astral traveling, astral zoom room type energy, higher dimensional connections, higher dimensional collaborative work. Can also be related to like Golden Eagle grid stuff with a planetary.
There's also a Pokemon called Altaria.
Oh,
and
it looks like Pokemon. Pokemon knows some stuff about
cloudy. Oh yeah, for sure. It's like a big cloudy bird. I always take it as like an angelic frequency that's anchoring. Yeah. There's good old Pluto.
There's Pluto way out there. So he is like
in the void space between Capricornus and Sagittarius. Yeah. But technically still in the bounds.
And you can see how far up Altair is from that. So it is an alignment. It is not, Altair is not on the ecliptic.
Right.
But he is up there in the Milky Way. So that's why it's considered, that's part of the reason why the archetype is like the astral zoom room. So when Pluto is there, is like you can access that connection through the deepest layers of your shadow work, basically. Those Wi-Fi connections, I call them MiFi because it's like my internet can access that at the deepest subconscious levels, like as you're processing through things very, very deep in your psyche. A lot of times has, connections to past life stuff with Pluto.
For sure. Death and rebirth.
Yeah. And
it helps like points out your cycles and anything that needs to change.
Yeah, things slated for transformation. So I would say it's kind of like reestablishing, like clearing out whatever is jacking up your bandwidth to the astrals, the higher astrals. That's kind of what Pluto is doing. He is separating, but he will go direct towards, what is it, the end of the year? He usually retrogrades for half the year. So
beginning of next year, like just in
beginning of next year.
Yeah. It's either December or January.
Yeah.
Which is still part of our same astrological year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I feel like he's got us working on. And, reconnecting through that Sagittarian fire type energy as he keeps backing up that way. So initiating and inspirational type things and just like, let's relight that spark. Right.
Yep. And he'll continue to be retrograding in this void space closer to Sagittarius, but he will start moving to Capricorn, and we will do an episode on America's real Pluto return, which is the exact date is December 27th, 2024. So we still have a bit of time,
We
you know,
have some
about a
time.
year and a half. But when Pluto goes back to the right space, but we're definitely can imagine a change. I mean, we just saw Pluto move through Sagittarius through the last how many years, and we saw changes in travel, changes in school, changes in philosophy, culture. So Pluto can, like, you know, really tear things down. It's sort of like a cyclone. So, you know, things can move in a cyclical motion. So now that Pluto is going to be moving into Capricorn, we're going to notice that more with government, social structures, and things like that. So I hope everybody is excited about it and prepared.
Yeah,
But then it's the
Pluto.
rebirth as well. Like Pluto doesn't just destroy, like, okay, goodbye. It's like it destroys to rebuild. Yeah, so it's going to be excellent, I think, going through Capricorn, because we want this shit to burn down.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And we are ready to build it up.
To reveal the truer aligned thing, right? Like that's really, it's like, let's rip out what's not real, what isn't in alignment with the truth, and let's bring the thing that is up to the surface. So yeah, it's kind of like, it is death and rebirth.
Yeah.
But he does the ripping. He literally surfaces the thing and you get to rip it out. You're like, let's go.
Yep. I'm a big fan of Pluto. I worked with Pluto most of my life. So
yeah.
Definitely intense, but worth it.
He is intense. Shall we talk briefly about the nodes?
I think so.
I've got a whole IG live thing on the North Node at
Yes,
Andromeda
definitely
Galaxy.
check it out.
I feel like we can keep it brief and people can look at that, but I do want to make an adjustment, like the actual date that the North Node, which is in Pisces. Sorry, tropical astrology, who thinks it's moving into Aries. It's already been all the way through Aries and Cetus.
Exactly.
And it is
and
moving into Pisces, or it's in Pisces. It moved in the beginning of this month, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And for anyone who is watching this that doesn't follow Janine on Instagram, her Instagram is Inner Sky Alchemy. So that's where you will find that video. Highly recommend it. It's amazing.
Thank you. And yeah, it'll probably be linked. Our handles will be in the show notes in this YouTube video. So check that out for all three of us, actually. The correct date is August 11th, when the North Node will be aligned directly with Andromeda Galaxy. So I feel like that plays into the stuff. Where was that? There was a couple other things that were dancing with Andromeda. The Jupiter in Aries was at Almach and Menkar, and then the Chiron retrograde. So that's the big one. I feel like that we're going to be having some huge opportunities to bridge to Andromeda. And this is the North Node stuff is definitely like pushing into that dragon energy. So the nodes are moon nodes. They are connected to the moon.
They're calculated points based on lunar movement. So they're not heavenly body that you will find. They're a calculated point.
So it's the intersection of two planes, the orbit of the moon over a lunar cycle over a period of years, and the ecliptic. And it slowly wobbles in about 18 and a half year. It's about an 18 and a half year orbit. So we only get the opportunity to align the North Node, which is pushing us into our life path. We only get that opportunity every 18 and a half years. So that's 4 and maybe 5 opportunities. If people are really, you know, healthy and living to like 100, get 5 opportunities to do that. So it's a huge opportunity for Quantum Leap. And if you want more details, the details are valid in the IG Live, just the date is a little bit different. But you should feel this slowly pushing in, because the nodes move kind of slow. And it's been pushing in for about, it really started to be felt about 2 weeks before this August 11th date. So the end, like a little bit earlier this week, like I got so many messages when I did my IG Live, like, oh my God, I've been dreaming of dragons. Oh my gosh, dragons this, dragons that. It's like, yep.
Yeah,
it's coming in.
Dragons everywhere for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
So
North Node and South Node are known as the dragon's head and the dragon's tail, Rahu and Ketu in a natal chart as well. So that like double amplifies the dragon energy.
yeah. So definitely diving into the Andromedan
Mhm.
dragon energy. It's very high vibe. I would say for my dreamers out there, if like pastel rainbow colors are showing up, dragons, crystals that are like opal or opalescent or like opal light color, light frequencies, light coding, that's all Andromeda energy. That's very high vibe stuff. So if that stuff is showing up in your dreams or meditations, you're there.
It's showing up to me in physical reality.
Or physical reality.
Yeah, I've had rainbow dragons just like boop pop up, and then I won this like rainbow ray dragon activation thing for the 777 portal. So I'm like, okay, I hear you, dragons.
They are landing. So yeah, that's an embodiment thing. Like if you are calibrated to embody that or conduit that to the planetary core, it is on, y'all. It can be
Andromeda
those
is so
adjustments and
high vibe.
attunements.
Yeah.
Those adjustments and attunements can be a little uncomfortable because the nature of the North Node energy is like may not be in everybody's wheelhouse. It may not be their level of mastery to conduit that energy. So it may be a little bit like it might surface some crud that's clogging up that ability to conduit it, and just go with it, right? Do your alchemy, whatever that is for you, and it will attune. And ground because it's very high vibe.
We had someone in the chat mention that next year 2024 is the year of the dragon, so that's intense. Yeah, so it's probably going to be even more intense in 2024.
Well, look,
it's going to be in Pisces for quite some time.
Yeah, it's literally physically manifesting. So that's the lag in the manifestation window, is literally like it'll take the rest of this year to anchor, but it's here.
Yeah,
I love that. That is amazing. I love that synchro.
And probably the most profound thing about North Node moving into Pisces is that it starts a whole new cycle. So unlike the rest of, unlike celestial bodies that move through Aries, Taurus, all the way to Pisces, North Node and South Node go opposite. So they move backwards through the zodiac. So the fact that North Node just entered Pisces means that it has started an entire new cycle for soul mission activations and, life purpose activations.
Yeah. Connecting to your spiritual self.
Exactly.
Yes.
And one thing about North Node, for those who are working with this position in their chart or the transit, is that it's going to be uncomfortable. Like working towards your North Node is soul expanding because your consciousness is expanding. You're experiencing things for the first time. That's why it's your soul mission, because it's something that you're meant to do, meant to experience that you haven't before. Whereas if you're in your South Node stuff, then you're going for what is comfortable. You're in your comfort zone, whereas North Node's out of your comfort zone. So South Node, you can have a cushy, whatever it may be. Things can be very easy with your South Node, but it's not going to be soul fulfilling like your North Node. And that's how you can tell if your soul is being fulfilled. That's that North Node soul mission energy. Yep.
Although I don't like the idea of just like leaving the South Node behind. I read something interesting that talked about the South Node being kind of the way out of the matrix and the North Node being the way into it more. And so I like to see it as a dynamic tension between the two, because we need both nodes to be present in this moment.
Oh, for sure. I always reference South Node as like your karmic gifts and your karmic gunk. It's not all bad.
Yeah.
Nothing's all bad. And nothing's all good either. And for me, any natural opposition like North Node and South Node, you can utilize it as a battery, basically. As long as they're kept polarized enough, you can just keep the energy circulating. So by no means would I suggest anyone to ignore South Node or, boo South Node. It's like you can't, I guess you could be going towards your soul mission 100%, but the way to anchor it in is to go more South Node and, use the gifts that you have of the past. It's like if you're born intuitive, but you're not good at artistry or something like that. Maybe you're meant to be an artist with your North Node, but you're super psychic with your South Node. It's not shutting your psychic gifts off. It's using those in order to continue your
Yeah.
North Node as like an artist or something like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Oh, and
any
I would-
opposition in a chart is to be integrated equally, right? You
Mhm.
got to balance the
It's a
thing on the
balance
North
scale,
Node side.
yeah.
You got to balance the thing. A lot of times South Node will have karma still attached to it, as well as those unintegrated gifts. They're not gifts. They're just natural abilities that you cultivated in a past life that you might have to go reclaim those or, reintegrate those. And then you take all that stuff once you've integrated and done the karma clearing, and you just go
Mhm.
across the chart with it. And you're like, okay, I can level up over here now. Then maybe you go back to the node and do another layer of it. And then you go back to the North Node and expand
Absolutely.
more. So it's kind of like a back and forth, like a pendulum, until you've integrated everything that both of those things hold. And you're like, partially that's an indicator for me that you've rectified your chart karma. It's like your nodes are fully integrated. Good job. You can get into the matrix, because I feel like South Node is the jumping in point from a past life into the Earth matrix, right? That's literally what that conjunction of those two planes look like. It's like you're coming in from the lunar matrix into the Earth matrix, and then on the North Node side, you exit. You can get out of the cosmic egg, so to speak, if we're talking about the moon as a cosmic egg. So you got to be able to do both for sure. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I just want to clarify too. I didn't mean anything that you were saying that, but just in general, you tend to hear that quite a lot about the North and the South.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's just good, viable information for everybody to kind of explain it a little bit further
Yeah.
For sure.
with the polarities and stuff. So
Yeah.
yes,
Because polarities are just a continuum. And so really it's about the unifying force between the two endpoints.
which is you.
Which is us.
Mhm.
You're doing the balancing.
Yeah.
That's so much like Libra energy. Like, I guess that's why it's
Mhm.
easy for me to understand it, is like, that's what Libra
Same.
does, is bring the
Mhm.
polarities together. It's like, oh, I'm the fulcrum. Yeah, duh.
Yep.
Totally.
Exactly.
So that's a good way to think about it. It's like, I am the fulcrum between these 2
Mhm.
points. I bring these things into harmony.
Yep.
I got myself into this matrix. I can get myself out. So yeah, South Node's in Virgo, approaching Arcturus in an alignment to
Mhm.
Arcturus in Boötes. So that's a pretty big, Arcturians are
Mhm.
Andromeda portal guardians as far as that goes, like soul level stuff. So it's interesting that Arcturus isn't the exact opposition to Andromeda Galaxy. It's about 4.5 degrees different. The exact alignment is actually like Omicron, Centaurus, and Centaurus constellation. So I feel like there is calibrating going on as the nodes move through these positions, like clearing out low vibe Centaurus stuff, hybridization trauma, interesting things like that,
Mhm.
which I go into more detail about on the IG Live. So, but he will be, the node will be approaching Arcturus throughout the month, and I think it actually aligns with it in it maybe even October, because it kind of wobbles towards it and then it wobbles back a little bit. When you're looking at the true nodes, they do wobble a little bit back and forth. So I think it was actually maybe the end of October, November that the South Node actually aligns with Arcturus. So we'll be feeling that sort of wobbling back and forth for a couple months.
Mhm. It really does move pretty slow.
Yeah, they do move pretty slow. So I feel like the power day for this month, y'all, is August 22nd. There is
Definitely.
so much going on that day.
Mhm.
The celestial juju brewing on the 22nd. Power, was it Master Builder? 22 is the Master Builder number.
Mhm.
Yes.
So that would be the day I would be doing some stuff, not 8/8.
Definitely.
Of course, I'm doing stuff every day, all day. So
I know. I was thinking the
it'll
same
just be
thing. It's
another
like,
day.
Yeah, exactly.
When am I
Pretty
not?
much.
Uh-huh.
When is magic not a thing? It's every day, 24/7.
Mhm.
So that was a lot, y'all. Got
That
anything
was.
else you want to throw in the hat? We're gonna have to plan accordingly for the next one. Of course, I don't
Yeah.
think the next one will have all these hot topic
Yeah.
things going on.
We kind of, it's like the outer planets, they're going to be in the same space unless there's something big that we're channeling from any of the places, we can probably just show sky view real quick. This is where it is. Okay, next.
Yeah.
So-
Refer to the
Mhm.
August session
Exactly.
for details. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
Beautiful, guys.
Beautiful transit
Yeah.
report.
Mhm.
And our next episode, 2 Thursdays from now, will be on, we are starting our zodiacal series. So we will be talking all things Cetus, Aries, Cetus.
All
I guess we'll
things
have to talk about that spot.
in the
Oh, we
cosmic
will.
chamber.
Yes. The cosmic trinity.
Mhm.
Yes, we will.
So big stuff ahead, and we hope that everyone tunes in again. And thank you everybody who tuned in to the live and everyone who's rewatching.
Yes. Thank you guys. You can find us the channel on Instagram at the True Sky Crew. And you can find me at Inner Sky Alchemy, Janine, and Georgia and Sashi if you want to share where people can find you. I'm sure everybody knows, but you know, we might have YouTube.
Sure. Yeah, you can find
Viewers
me at Sachi the Scorpio on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And then for the articles that I reference, if you're interested in learning more about Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn retrograde, and Venus retrograde, you can do so on sachithescorpio.com.
Cool. And I'm Georgia, and you can find me at Star Nectar Astrology on Instagram.
Yay. And I think we had a couple of comments in the live chat that there are people interested in learning how to use their Sky app to find their heliacal rising of Sirius date. So maybe that'll be something we do on Instagram, and we will let you guys know when we do that.
Yes. Keep a lookout
Probably
for the
soon, because
announcement.
everybody's
Yeah,
going to start yapping
because
about.
it's like starting now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
starting to fire up. So probably do it soon. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks for our first Zodiac episode.
Yep.
Yay.
So,
Have a good night.
have a good
Bye,
night,
everybody.
everyone.
Until next time.
Bye.